The latest Google algorithm, try and say that in the morning after having a coffee, puts emphasis on helpful content. It's now going to rank pages and rank websites and information based on whether the content is helpful to searchers. And that's what any website should do, really. It's supposed to provide answers to questions that people are looking for. And what people have done wrong in the past, because the algorithm is always shrouded in mystery, is they've tried to please Google and the bots with keywords, meta descriptions and things like that, and they've forgotten about the human side of people who are searching for it. So it's important that your website has content that is helpful, and long form content, 2,000 word blogs that provide answers that are written in a human voice, that are not written for bots, will give you long-term organic growth on page rankings. And we all know in this information rich age that when people are making a purchasing decision, they research to the nth degree, and then they'll make a purchasing decision. So if you're an estate agent, they'll look at the information they provide you provide on your website before they choose an estate agent. It might be word of mouth, you know, we've always got that powerful marketing medium, but 9 times out of 10, if they don't know the area, the companies involved, if they move to a new area, they'll look online and they'll make a value judgment based on your website, the content of your website and your social media output, and they'll get a feel before they pick up the phone or send an email as to whether to trust you to sell their property. There's other factors as well. So one of them is site speed. And I can't emphasise this enough. Google does recognise that site speed is important, and your website should use a content delivery network, a CDN. And if it isn't, you need to switch to one. You need to switch to a hosting provider who does provide a CDN, because it makes a massive difference to the way your website loads, and to the way Google ranks it, you know, as well as providing helpful content. If your content's really helpful, but it's taken an age to load, it's going to defeat the object, if you like. I'd say image sizes as well are a big thing. As a web designer myself, people send me raw images, and they're often 10, 20, 30 megabytes, and I can't put them on a website. WordPress restricts the size of an image, but you've got to do some jiggery-pokery, for want of a better word, to make the images smaller. And I use a program, so it looks really 80s. It looks like the 80s have called. It looks like clip art. I use a program called TinyPNG, and I use a premium version. And so what I do is I compress the images beforehand in Preview, in Tools on my Mac, and then I upload them into TinyPing and download them. And they often come out between 50 and 250 kilobytes of size, and that makes them much more manageable and palatable, and they load faster. And that's all to do with site speed and the CDN and Google algorithms as well. And on that note, I'd say bin sliders. You know, those sliders that used to go across websites where you'd have 5 and it'd like introduce a company. People are on mobiles now. 83% of browsing, 84% are on mobiles and tablets, and they haven't got the time to sit and look at a slider that's on their iPhone or their Samsung phone. They want speed. They want information quickly. So make your sliders static. Don't have a slider. Just have one image if you must have one, and leave it there, or manipulate it so that your mobile version does not have a slider, and it's only the desktop version where people are likely to linger more as bigger images that are hero images, I think the word is, as well as sliders. So look into those as well. The other thing is make it a lean homepage. I had a really complex homepage before, and I've slimmed it down massively on Get Pro Copy. And I realised I needed to go on a gastric band because the bounce rate was about 85%. That means the time people are spending on the website, under a minute, 85% are leaving under a minute. So they're landing on the homepage and 85% of them are clicking away, which is fairly bad as a bounce rate. And I've got it down to about 50% because I've sharpened the homepage, and I've done it for other people. You've got to have your homepage to be spare. You've got to have it attractive with clear calls to action. But what you want them to do is click other pages within your website, click other menu items to have a look there, to explore, and not click the dreaded cross button to close it down. And then I'd say the final thing you need is social media. If you look on my website, I've moved all the social media buttons to the bottom because that's improved the bounce rate as well. Because if someone sees your Facebook page, your LinkedIn on your website at the top as a land, they might be tempted to go straight away and look at that. And it's not a really good idea to move them away from your website when they've found it. So I've moved the social media buttons to the social media buttons to the bottom, and I'm just looking at them now: Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, pretending I'm 10, Twitter, and YouTube. And those channels are all there. They're all fairly active. And this is what social media should do. It should drive traffic to your website. Obviously, if you put a link on Facebook every time, the algorithm punishes you. And the only way you'll get traffic from a link on Facebook to your website is by boosting it generally, because then more people will see it. So I regularly do £60 a month boosts, and I tend to get website instructions from it, or writing assignments from it. Because I split them into 20, 20, 20, three £20 ones, and I've got specific geographic areas and factors that I target. So I target a certain demographic of people. I target a certain employment status, because what you don't want is you don't want someone who you're not wanting to get as a customer trying to become your customer. So you've got to be quite specific in your target. Because it's not about the click-throughs, it's about you taking the action once you've clicked through, that they feel compelled to write to you because you've actually spoke to them, you've answered those questions, which takes you back to helpful content. So your website can be fairly static, but your social media is a way of driving traffic to it, and you've got to be active on there. And that's what I do. I manage social media for clients. I'm pretty good on LinkedIn pages and profiles. I manage Facebook campaigns, Twitter, Instagram, and so on. And none of them are contractual. It's just a 1 month retainer, and then you're free to go where you want. I also build WordPress websites, and I use this knowledge about site speed, image sizes, great content to do that. There's not many. If you Google web designer and copywriter, there's not many web designers who can copyright, and there's not many copywriters who can web design. So that's my USP. And I also copyright for businesses where I'm retained to write great content, because the last thing you want to do is be focusing on sales and thinking, I really need to put a blog out. You let me or the umpteen copywriters on LinkedIn or web designers do that for you. So that's the sermon about the new Google algorithm. Right, I'm going to crack on with some work now.